Hello, Georgetta Gankars here. So I want to show you, we're going to be doing some strokes for Impressionist paintings, but I want to show you some examples first. So this is a very fast demo that I did, and I want you to look at the strokes up close. They're supposed to be of a reflection. It's almost abstract, so it's one color on top of another color. And I put the yellows first, then I moved to the medium greens and the dark greens. I let that dry. Then I put these browns, which were a combination of the red and greens and whites. I put whites, and then I have these red highlights on top. And you can see the background has these blues and whites, and these has these greens with a little bit of blues on top. And when you move away, it's kind of a landscape. And you can do, and I do these in like about 10 minutes. Here's another one of I did, is that press and release method. Remember when I was telling you when we were using the brush and pressing down and lifting up? We kind of get that. And here's another abstract kind of expressionist one, where we've got all these strokes and all this color coming about. And I want to show you how to do these strokes and move them and do them very, very fast. Because when you're looking at Impressionist painting, the most important thing is the texture and the strokes. And they're not very realistic. You see how all these colors are mixing together to make this water? So let's practice how to do that, okay? So we already know that we did this kind of dab, press, and release method. Let's try doing something first with the sky. And again, I'm just doing this on watercolor paper. For those of you, you can try it if you want on a watercolor paper first. It dries a little bit faster when you're using the acrylics on the watercolor paper. You could add a paint retarder if you wanted to, or to stop the drying process, or a stay wet palette. Or you could just use a squirt water bottle, where you're just taking a little squirt water bottle and you're squirting your palette 6 inches away. So you're taking your paints and you're just kind of squirting them in a squirt water bottle. And you want to do it 6 inches away from your palette. You don't want to directly squirt the paints too close, okay? So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my brush, as you know, take my rag, wipe it off, and I'm just going to pick up some blue and white, and I just kind of mix the blue and white together with my brush here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these strokes, and I'm going to do them really fast in the sky. And you can see how fast I'm working just to put on the strokes. And I'm just working on this texture here. And when you're doing Impressionist painting, you know, you don't have to take a lot of time. You're just thinking about where the lights are, where the shadows are. You can even make it up as you go along, right? You're deciding where you want the landscape to be. And I'm just happy to put some more clouds on top. And again, I'm just using my flat brush, and I have a little bit of that color. And I can build that sky up real fast, okay? If I wanted to be darker blue, I could add more. And the thing is, maybe I'm going to move it all the way down here, okay? The next thing that you want to practice is, I want to show you when you're working wet on wet. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some water down here again. So I'm going to wipe my brush, you know, dab it on a rag, and I'm going to pick up my ultramarine blue, and then I'm going to do something where I'm just going back and forth with my brush like I'm sweeping a rug. And I want to show you the strokes that I get when I do that. And this is a fast way that I do water when I want to get these waves in here. And I'm starting out on my canvas, and I just want to build it up real fast. And now, I'll show you close. I have these little marks. And what I can do is I can go back with a small brush. And what I usually do is a small brush, it has a point, a tip to it, and it's called a round. And that's because it comes to a point. And I'm dipping it in my water, wiping it off. Of course, if it was, you know, turp, you can dip it into your linseed oil. And when I have my brush, I'm making sure that I'm rolling the brush, and I only have the paint at the tip. And it's not very thick. And then what I do is I usually go, and I can take it, and I can keep picking up the paint when needed, and I can put these colors going across, and I can just make darker lines, in other words. So you start seeing like some strokes, if you want the water to have a little bit more action, more waves. And I kind of go back and forth. And when it's really hard that I can't drag my brush, that's when I dip it back into my solvent and I pick up more of the color. And if you practice that, you can kind of get this idea where you're kind of making these waves, and you're making them really fast. You're just dipping your brush in the water when you need to, wiping it off on your rag. Don't forget to wipe it off on your rag. You don't want to ever take a wet brush with dripping water directly to your canvas, or turp, or linseed oil. And you just keep building it up, and it takes a while, you know, but I'll show you how those strokes start looking when we start building them up. They start getting, you know, really thick here, and I'm just kind of filling in these spaces, and you want to do that. And you could put another color. Maybe you decide you want to go with a lighter turquoise green. I could put another color in here for a highlight or a shadow. You just want to keep doing that, okay? And you don't have to do these small, totally exact kind of strokes. Again, you're just moving it with your brush, and you want to leave some white spaces in between. You might put another color in there. Maybe you're going to use a dark turquoise blue. Maybe you're going to use, you know, ultramarine blue and a little bit of green. Whatever your water is going to be, you want to leave some space for that. So again, that's practicing those strokes, and you'll just try doing them. You also want to have your canvas where it's a little bit different. You want the top part of the canvas to be a little bit different from the bottom. You don't want those strokes to be the same. In other words, in my top part of my canvas here, I have these loose strokes where I use the flat brush, and here I'm using a much smaller brush, so I have a little bit more precision, but I still have a lot of texture in these strokes. And that's the way you can build up the canvas really fast. The next thing you can do is, let's just make believe, I guess, we'll just put a tree here, just so you remember when we're doing that kind of dab and pressing moment, you know, when you're mixing the colors, try that. Maybe you put a little bit of tree here, maybe you put a sun, but again, just try just doing washes real fast where you have this kind of texture of water on watercolor paper, and see how it works for you. It shouldn't take a long time. And then what we can do is go into detail. Now I want to show you a little bit about making clouds. So say for an example, I have this sky and it's blue. I'm going to drastically change this sky right now, and I'm going to put some clouds, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker, okay? So I'm going to pick up my white paint here on the edge, and again, I'm still using a flat brush. If you don't want to use a flat, you can use a large round, but if you are going to use a round, it should be like this, a little bit larger. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the trees, and we're just dabbing, you see? And when we're dabbing lightly, if we dab light, the clouds will disappear into the sky. If we press harder, we'll have more of a white cloud. And it's really good to try on a very dark background, but now we kind of get this. See that cloud coming there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this on something that I have here already, this darker surface area, so you can see the cloud better. So I'm going to press, and try it behind something that is blue, so you can see the color of the sky, and just try dabbing, because clouds aren't circles, right? They have spaces in between, and you want to have it look a little bit lighter. And if you want it to be darker, you can press more. So try your clouds, and try making a bunch of different clouds, okay? And we'll come back and I'll do a whole nother video, but you're going to have to make 4 blue squares, let it dry, and then we'll come back and we'll do clouds again, okay? But in the meantime, try your large strokes for your sky, and try your strokes for your water, for your impressionist water. I'll see you soon, and we'll be working on clouds.